we're just gonna let it run, and when the music cues, it'll remind me that we're getting late, if I even go that far. All right. So, when we left off on page 29, Amix was running for the train. She heard Santa Claus and she got scared. She was running towards the train, and just then a mummy's hand came out and grabbed her, and we left, with the mummy pulling her into the train car. Okay, BOOZHOO! Welcome back to BOOZHOO Nana BOOZHOO, and we're reading Amix Blood. This is part 7. Starting on page 30, Amix gets pulled into a train car and sees a mummy. And, greetings, the mummy said. You okay? Yeah, thanks a lot, she replied. Are you okay? Yes, of course. Why do you ask? It's just that you're covered with bandages. Were you injured? He smiled underneath the wraps. It was clear Amix had never met one of the undead before. No, it's just a cultural thing. I wear it mostly for warmth, he said. My name is Stephen. I'm a mummy. What's your story? I'm Amix Blood, she replied. And I don't know what I am. Oh, what? Stephen exclaimed. What do you mean? Oh, it's nothing. My story? Amix adjusted herself on the comfortable pillow. She pulled her hair behind her ear and smiled, revealing an extended fang. I'm not sure how to answer that, she said. I think it might just be starting. What's your story, Stephen? What's a mummy? And what's with all this stuff? Pretty cool, eh? Stephen replied. I'm on tour. The Transylvania Museum of History is putting on this exhibit. I've got to remember to put it all back in the crates before we get there. It really freaks out the roadies when I forget. How come? They think I'm dead. What? Oh yeah, the only downside to this gig is I've got to play dead during the viewing hours. Everybody's fascinated by Egyptian history, Stephen said, and sat down cross-legged on the floor in front of his guest. But nobody wants to see me walking around. That's terrible, Amix replied, and reached for his hand. Stephen squeezed softly back and asked, So tell me, what were you doing out in the middle of nowhere? Why were you so intent on getting on this train? Well, for starters, Santa Claus is looking for me, Amix said. Who? Santa Claus. You don't know Santa Claus? Oh yeah, now I remember. My mom was Jewish. He never went to our place in Egypt when I was a kid, Stephen said. Why is he after you? I'm a runaway from the Elf Academy. Amix tilted his head a little and said, Okay, and what is an Elf Academy? It's a boarding school to teach elves how to act like vampires. Ha! Stephen laughed. Why would an elf want to act like a vampire? Elves are cool. Thanks. Do you really think so? Amix asked. Absolutely. They make the best cookies. It warmed Amix to hear a kind word about elves. For 2 months she had only heard how vampires were superior. You know, my mother is elven, Amix said, smiling. I was going to ask. You've definitely got the ears, but you seemed a little tall for an elf. Well, my dad is vampire, she said. I guess that explains the cape and fangs. Yeah, but that's about the only thing vampire about me, Amix said, looking away. How so? I'm a half-breed. I can't change into a bat or anything. Can you go out in the sun? Stephen asked. Yeah. Well, that's pretty lucky. I think I'd give up turning into a disgusting winged rodent for being able to go out during the day. Amix smiled again. You know, I never really thought about it like that, she said. You're right. Yeah, you've got to look on the bright side of things, Stephen said. Then slumping a little, he added, I'd give anything to be able to go out in the sun. Amix took his hand once again. Is that what the bandages are all about? She asked. Yeah, Pretty much. But it's night now. Stephen stood up and leaned against the back wall. I'm just more comfortable this way, he said. Amix felt she may have touched upon something painful for Stephen. Hey, that's okay with me. I don't. I think it makes you look really dark and mysterious, Amix said. Don't change a thing. Okay, we're going to stop there for the day on page 34. And a friendship is blooming between Amix Blood and Stephen. All right, well, until tomorrow then. You've been watching Amix Blood. You've been watching BOOZHOO Nano BOOZHOO, and we're reading Amix Blood by Michael Lyons. I will see you again. Kigawabamin Minawa. Oh, what?